Hello, welcome to a special post-show wrap-up of the Game Awards 2019. I'm joined by Nick Straub.
Hello.
Ben Reeves.
How's it going?
Alex Stadnik in the booth.
In the booth. Hello.
And I am Brian Shea. I will be your host, your guide, and your loving companion as we go through the biggest moments of Jeff Keighley's Game Awards, which we just ended our viewing party, and now we're rolling right in to this quick wrap-up show.
Right in there, baby.
The
Let's
after
go.
party wrap-up.
The after party to the
This
viewing
is the
party.
real after party. Don't pay attention to them in LA.
So, real quick, we started our stream a little early, and we were worried that, we're starting when the pre-show. We did a pre-show to the pre-show. But the pre-show was surprisingly good, right?
It really was, yes.
We had Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 DLC. We had Maneater, which just looks bananas. It's a shark eating people game.
Mm-hmm. Can we spend some time talking about that after?
Yeah, we can
Okay, good.
We can talk about it right now. So, we've had Jaws Unleashed, I think it was called, where it was just a shark swimming around eating people. But this one, it's like sharks are evolving, growing things. Like they're jumping out of the ocean and flopping around on the beach, chasing people. They're jumping into swimming pools. It just looks crazy in all the best possible ways. I just hope it doesn't play like garbage.
Yeah, that's the only problem with that. If it doesn't control well, it's not going to be fun. But man, I hope that's not the case because I think that was the game that I laughed at the most. And I was like, okay, I really want to see what this does in the goofiest possible fashion.
Yeah, for sure. You guys into that trailer?
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm hopeful that they go a bit of a sci-fi channel original movie route and like let you evolve into weird things. They showed it like evolving.
Yeah, it looks like it had like some sort of like cybernetic stuff going on.
Yeah, but like if you could put in like an octopus sharktopus kind of thing, that would be I would be sold.
Yeah, definitely.
So just rolling right along, we got a lot to cover. They showed new Final Fantasy VII remake trailer in the pre-show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was.
It was mostly stuff we'd seen, like areas we'd seen already, but like Final Fantasy VII looks really good.
That's one.
It's only a few months away.
Easily one of the most anticipated games of next year.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it looks great. Still,
we're getting so close, and I'm getting so excited for that. Also, No More Heroes 3 got an all-new trailer, which did a little fake out.
I think that was one of those wild trailers.
Yeah, so
I
it started
like
off like like 90s style anime, even with like the aspect ratio of a 90s anime.
Yeah.
And then they updated it to be like 2019 anime style.
Yeah.
And
If you missed the trailer, just go watch it.
Yeah.
Because like it's cool. One of the like wildest trailers of the night, and like it was seriously, it started with a fake out. That game they showed as the fake out game, I kind of want that game now. It looks
there were two fake out trailers.
Yeah, there were a couple of them.
So
yeah.
there was one, we're not going to mention it in this, but 9 to 5 started out with a bunch of bunny rabbits with machine
Yeah,
guns.
well, you already mentioned it.
But we're not going to cover it
Yeah.
anymore. We're never going to mention it again. We're not allowed to.
Ever again.
So let me continue as I work my 9 to 5 job. Damn it! So pre-show, very good overall. No More Heroes 3, yeah. I'm excited for that. But the main show really came out all guns a-blazing. Mm-hmm. One of the first announcements, Xbox Series X. We finally have a name for the new Xbox console.
This is the new Xbox console.
Yeah.
Coming out in holiday 2020. We've been calling it Project Scarlet to this point, presuming that's what Project Scarlet is, because like it's the same release window they said it was going to be, and that's an all-new Xbox system. And they showed Senua's Saga Hellblade 2,
Right.
which looks...
Ninja Theory, which
Ninja
looks
Theory,
crazy.
which was recently, I guess semi-recently acquired by Microsoft or Xbox Game Studios.
Right. I don't think I reacted much when they announced that new console, because I think the whole time I was thinking, like, this can't be the new console. Like, I was so stunned by the fact that they have this huge announcement during the Game Awards, the new console name, and they showed off the box, which looks like a PC tower.
A mini PC tower.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't look quite as large as like my gaming PC at home, but like it's pretty substantial.
What do you
And
guys think of the look of that thing? You
I
like
have
it?
no idea how it's going to fit on my entertainment console, like my TV stand, because it's all like vertical. So I'm hoping you can turn it sideways and it's not going to be too tall then. 'Cause
Like the old
It's pretty
PS2?
bulky. Yeah.
It looks just like a PC giant, really.
And that fits in some of the rumors that we've heard that this thing is going to be more of a upgradable thing. And I was happiest, I think, to see, I don't know what they've said about it, but having a disc tray on it, I think was big as someone who likes still buying physical games.
Yeah. I don't think it was a disc tray. I think it was just a disc.
Like a little slot.
Slot,
Kind
yeah,
of like we
excuse
have
me,
on
yeah.
the current Xbox.
Yeah.
And we mentioned it quickly, but Hellblade 2, what a freaky trailer that
It was
is. And I mean,
awesome.
appropriately freaky if you've played the first game.
Right.
That game is just like a psychological thrill ride. And
like visually. Not, I mean, definitely freaky. I agree with you, but
Just a sensory
visually,
overload sometimes.
It looked amazing. It looked like lifelike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uncanny Valley.
they said that's in-engine footage, which,
Yeah.
could mean a lot of things, but it was very impressive.
I feel like we're ramping up the other side of the Uncanny Valley finally, which is kind of fun to see. Like those people looked like people.
Yeah.
They did. And not to be outdone, because we already knew Halo Infinite was coming to Scarlet or now Series X. So Hellblade 2 was the first one to actually don the Series X name.
Yeah.
Not to be outdone, we got our first PS5 title, which is Godfall, which is being published by Gearbox and a developer called Counterplay. It looks pretty cool. It's a looter slasher. Just a quick mention there. But something that really stuck out to me was a new Player Unknown game. Or at least a
right.
teaser.
Yeah, man, that was crazy.
That was very strange.
So we don't know anything about this, but it's called Prologue.
Yeah.
And you can go sign up. I don't think it's playable right now.
There's nothing. If you go to their website, it talks about how it is a new experience and they want players to have a unique playthrough every time.
Sure.
I'm
It's just an experience of 100 people getting on a plane.
Jumping out.
Is that what it is?
It just loads the PUBG
Yeah, it's just
client.
them taking off. And then
It's actually just Flight Simulator.
yeah.
Bravely Default 2. Just moving right along.
cool.
yeah, they look good.
For the Switch, which is great. I mean, the art style that team brings is so good. We saw it on Switch for the first time with Octopath Traveler, and now we're getting it with Bravely Default 2, which, people love that series. Both the games in the series so far have been really well liked. It's just a really good RPG series.
I like the art style in that game.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. I mean, we were talking before we started recording that Nintendo didn't really have any major blow your socks off announcements, but we had No More Heroes, we had Bravely Default, so nothing really first party. We didn't learn about Breath of the Wild sequel or anything like that. But I mean, there's some good stuff coming to Switch.
Definitely. But I am surprised with the level of involvement they've had the last couple of years. How just kind of not muted they were. Like you said, there was some good stuff in there, but there was never that here we go for Switch type of thing, like there was for Xbox and for PlayStation.
And speaking of which, the next two big things that were really covered in the Game Awards in terms of reveals, Ghost of Tsushima, which looks incredible. That's coming to PS4 in the summer. And then Gears Tactics, which is coming to PC and Xbox One in April. So
I think that also looks pretty
both
good.
of those
It
look
does look
really
really
good.
cool.
But I mean, I think the star was Ghost of Tsushima.
for sure.
Which, by Sucker Punch, we've been teased about it for, 2 E3s now?
yeah.
Well, I don't think it was at E3 last
It
year.
wasn't, but we've been waiting for new stuff.
Right.
Sony didn't have a presence at all at E3 this year.
Yeah, so we've been waiting a long time for this game in particular, and I'm excited about this one. And they confirmed that it's definitely PS4, which I think you
Yeah.
said, and it's summer, so it's close, and I mean close-ish, and I think it looks great, visually very stunning.
Yeah, and I mean, Sucker Punch makes great games. They were the Infamous developer. So if you played the Infamous games,
I thought you were just gonna. I thought
they're
you,
the infamous
They
developer
are. Yeah.
of Infamous.
The infamous developer behind Sly Cooper.
those
but
rapscallions.
not to gloss over Gears Tactics, but that looks really fun too. I mean, the Gears series is having a sneaky good stretch here, with Gears 5 being, I think, the best Microsoft exclusive of 2019. Not that there was too much competition.
No, but it's a very good game.
It's one of the better games in the Gears of War series. Gears Pop, I don't know how that's doing on mobile. I kind of bounced right off of it, but it's keeping the brand in the consciousness. And now we have Gears Tactics to look forward to, which kind of went underground for a while, and now it's resurfacing. And it doesn't seem like we have very long to wait.
Underground?
Underground.
The Gears game Underground? There's a
And
joke there you're missing.
there is. We're just going to keep going, though. Another Microsoft exclusive we can talk about real quick. Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Just got a new trailer, new release date, March.
March 11th.
Continues to look absolutely gorgeous. One of the better looking platforming games, I think. And then kind of had a lull there in the middle. A lot of Magic the Gathering, a lot of Stadia commercials.
I would say
lot
the
of-
lull continued on through to the end of the show.
Well,
Yeah,
we had
I'd
a couple.
agree with
We had
that,
two more
yeah.
reveals that I think are worth mentioning. The Wolf Among Us 2
Oh, that's cool. I'm
reemerges,
excited about that.
which people loved, or they were excited for an announcement of a second one. I think that the first season was a little divisive, but it was one of the games before Telltale really had its going away party, we'll
Right.
say.
Oh, no.
That people were really excited for. And then the big one that closed out the show, oddly enough, was Fast and the Furious Crossroads, which was announced by Michelle Rodriguez and Vin Diesel. A surprise announcement, a surprise appearance by Vin Diesel.
Mr. Biceps himself.
Mr. Biceps
Good
himself.
Lord.
And yeah, the game doesn't look visually stunning.
Not at all.
However, I think it looks like a lot of fun. Like there's like tanks you're driving around. There's like action set piece moments involving like races. So I think that there is a lot of fun to be had in that universe from a video game perspective, and I'm excited to see if they can pull it off. It could be awful, but it could be a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah.
What were
Yeah.
your guys' favorite moments of the show?
Yeah, before we talk about the big winners of tonight,
Yeah.
just real briefly, but what are your favorite moments? Alex, let's start with you since you seem to have one queued right up.
I mean, I don't, but like I said, the shark game looked really cool. I think it's Xbox. I think I've been an Xbox fan for a long time. I'm happy to see where Microsoft is going with it, but I'm really happy for Jeff and everyone who worked on the show, because like objectively, however you feel about that company, that's the biggest get that show's ever got.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
So it shows that like what he's doing is working and people are taking notice, which I think is really cool, and I think it bodes well for the future.
And I'm glad Phil and Microsoft were willing to support that. They're like, hey, we want to support the Game Awards. We're going to be behind you guys and like bring some announcements your way. I agree. Like the Xbox thing was easily the biggest announcement of the show. There was like one other game that we didn't mention yet that I was also kind of intrigued by. The Dishonored guys.
Weird West.
Oh, yeah, that looks
broke
cool.
off. They
Yeah.
formed their own studio, and they're making Weird West, which is this systemic-driven game, which is very similar to what they've done before, but it's kind of a top-down game set in a Old West fantasy world. I'm very intrigued by it. I think the art style looked interesting. We didn't see a lot of game yet, but I'm hopeful that game could be really cool because I really like those guys, and Prey. I really like Prey. I really
love
like
Prey, yeah.
Dishonored.
So a couple other ones, or a few other ones that I wanted to mention. League of Legends, 2 single-player games.
Oh yeah.
One's an action RPG, one's an action platformer with like a time travel element.
Right.
Kind of like you can go back in time and fix mistakes, but they also implied that there are going to be some sweeping consequences. Keeley made a Back to the Future reference there, so
Right.
I'm intrigued by that.
And then the other one, the first one, the action RPG, is from Joe Mad's studio, Airship Syndicate.
Yeah.
And they had originally worked on the first couple Darksiders games, and they spun off to form Airship. And then they recently just released another Darksiders game, the co-op one that just came out, Genesis. Before that, they had worked on that comic book game. So I'm hopeful. I like those guys. I don't think they've knocked it out of the park yet, but I'm really hopeful. So maybe this will be the one.
And Battle Chasers Night War is the one you were
Yeah, I
talking
couldn't
about.
remember the name,
Then Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance. Weirdest trailer of the night.
Yeah.
But it takes home the award for just going for it with their vision. Like Metal playing as these fantasy characters are running and slashing their way through.
Weird
You know what?
camera
Shoot your
following their
shot.
face. Yeah.
Shoot your shot.
They did it. They really did it. But I'm probably not the target demographic for that game, but I was so in on that trailer. And then a trailer that looked really cool, which I think came immediately after the Hellblade trailer, because we were just like, what's with all the creepiness? Sons of the Forest,
Yeah, that was cool.
which
Yeah.
just it looked freaky as all hell.
Was that one of the 20 different Magic the Gathering games? They were
Not. Yeah, we had a lot of Magic the Gathering. What were your guys' biggest moments of the night?
Mine was Xbox, but I'm
Yours was
curious to hear
Xbox,
Nick.
okay.
Yeah.
What was yours?
I mean, Xbox was definitely the most like important, but my favorite moment and probably the one that surprised me the most, because I mean, like Xbox was huge and it's surprising they announced it, but we knew that was coming in some form. Was the No More Heroes one? Like, totally caught me off guard, in part because of how they announced it, and I just love the that trailer was hysterical and
It was
amazing.
funny.
And you're a big fan of the series,
I
right?
do like the series a lot. I've been worried because the last game kind of sucked, but I really enjoyed the first two.
You're talking about Travis Strikes Again?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was more of a deviation from
It
the
was,
formula.
but I was
and-
worried that I didn't know if the series was going to continue, and seeing that it's continuing, and that in that trailer really just captured like everything I love about it, and I had no idea that it was going to be that.
That was actually my favorite moment from E3 this year on a personal note, was I got to watch the reveal of No More Heroes 3 on the Nintendo Direct with Suda51.
Oh,
I was up in a
wow.
room with him and like 2 other people watching the Nintendo Direct.
that's amazing.
Did you hold
That's
his hand?
incredible.
Yeah, I rubbed his back while he was like, "It looks really good, man." So the big winners of the night, I think that there are 2
Are us.
big winners. Yeah, the big winners
gamers.
are
The
you,
gamers.
the gamers.
We won.
Disco Elysium was
Yes.
one of the
Man.
biggest ones. I think it took him 4 total
Took 4
awards.
awards, yeah.
Including RPG of the year, best narrative,
Best narrative, best indie.
best fresh indie,
Fresh
right?
indie.
The Subway one.
Oh, don't say. I have to bleep it out.
But I mean, by definition, the biggest winner was Sekiro, which I don't think any of us really saw
Because it won
coming.
Game of the
definitely
War.
did.
It won Game
of the Year.
Game
yeah.
of the War.
Game of the War award. Yeah.
Game of the Year and Action Adventure Game of the Year.
And I don't think it's dismissive to say that was the dark horse out of almost all of them.
I mean, it was that, or I mean, it was the dark horse. I think Death Stranding had a lot of detractors, but also a lot of really vocal supporters. But Sekiro, it felt like, was not in either of those camps. Like, people love Sekiro, but I didn't feel like it had like the push behind
The
it.
groundswell.
Yeah, the groundswell.
Definitely.
Very good. Of Death Stranding.
Yeah, that surprised me as well, and I know there's some love for that game. It's not my type of game, so I'm not like into it, but I was definitely surprised to see that win over like something like Control, for example, or even like
Outer
Outer
Worlds.
Worlds, which I feel like I heard a lot more about Outer Worlds, for example, than Sekiro. So
I mean, we did our episode of the Game Informer show this week, and you can go listen to that if you go to YouTube, Spotify, all those places, and GameInformer.com. And we went around and bet what we thought was going to win. I don't think a single one of us said Sekiro.
No, And like I said, I think there was a narrative that made sense for each of those games, and I think the narrative for me is, were there just people who were like, did they just assume other games were going to win, so they pushed Sekiro that much harder? I'm not taking away from the
I don't
game,
know.
but it's just it's very curious to me. I'm excited for it because I really like Sekiro, but it blew me away, man. I did not see that coming.
Has From Software ever won Game of the Year from
The Game Awards?
I don't think it has.
I mean, I think that the year that they would have won would have been Bloodborne, but I think Witcher 3
Witcher
won.
won, yeah.
So
they were nominated that year, I'm pretty
yeah,
sure.
I mean,
but-
Bloodborne was, I think, number 2
Right.
by most people's estimations in that year. Just a couple other random moments. They had the Muppets on stage.
That was fun.
Do a fake announcement of a Muppet Labs VR game, which just ended up being modifying Beaker into Untitled Goose Game, which was actually hilarious. So I recommend checking that out.
And now that's all we want.
And that's
right?
all we
Yeah,
want
that
now
one-
is some sort
most
of mod
disappointed
or
moment is
crossover.
that's not real.
Yeah. And then we had Reggie return. Reggie Fils-Aimé, former president of Nintendo of America, came back, gave an impassioned speech about indie games and the importance of independent developers.
He probably
and-
gave the longest speech of the
He
night.
definitely
totally did.
Definitely.
But yeah, it was great to see him back. He's been away from the game industry since April, I believe, when he retired from Nintendo. And yeah, it was great to see Reggie back on stage. He's a well-liked guy. He's a great public speaker, and he usually has good things to say.
And he wanted to prove it again.
Yeah,
that he
and
could speak.
And he had the Fisa mech glasses from that. Was that
right.
E3 that he did that skit with? One of those YouTube channels. I forget who it was.
Mega 64?
Mega 64. There we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, were there any other standout moments for you guys before we wrap up?
I think you hit the big ones. The only other weird one that was announced was New World, which is an Amazon game.
Yeah, Amazon
So
finally.
Amazon
yeah,
Studios is
that's
finally putting out a game. They gave a trailer, which I thought the trailer looked kind of cool.
It did.
It was this like statue figure, this gem that seems to raise undead creatures, and it's showing people throughout the centuries, like Roman centurions and other people, trying to come and get this gem. And I don't know. I was intrigued by the trailer. I'd like to see more. I'm curious to see Amazon actually put some more effort into their games and actually deliver something, because they've been working on stuff for a while but haven't had a whole lot to show for it. So this could be the start of that.
Also, music taking a weird place in the Game Awards. Like, obviously we had Grimes, Churches, and Green Day giving live performances alongside the Game Awards orchestra.
And they were all connected to games in some way.
Which is really cool.
Yeah. Grimes is about Cyberpunk, Churches was Death Stranding, and Green Day had a thing about Beat Saber. They're having like a 6-song DLC pack that's coming to Beat Saber tonight, or yesterday if you're watching this on Friday.
Or last week if you're watching it.
Or last week, or, you know, if you're watching this 2 months
You do
from
the math.
13 years ago it came out.
But the thing about Cyberpunk was Keighley got up there and he was like, Cyberpunk 2077, one of the biggest games we're most anticipated for 2020. And we're like, oh, here comes some news about Cyberpunk. And he's like, here's a behind the scenes look. And I'm like, of the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, wow, that just really took
keep getting worse
a dive
and worse.
off a cliff. However, I think the soundtrack looks pretty cool. Like, there were a lot of big names in there. What was it? Run the Jewels.
Run the Jewels, yes, sir.
A$AP
Rocky.
We had Grimes, A$AP Rocky. I've had it written down and I completely lost it. Yeah. It doesn't matter. There's a lot of big names in the soundtrack. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, Cyberpunk, I don't really think I need to be sold on that game at this point.
No.
But I would like to see a little bit more. The 2 missions that I've seen in live gameplay environment at E3 the past 2 years look incredible.
What was interesting is people have speculated that it's going to get pushed, but when they showed the trailer today, still had the date of April on there. So.
And they like doubled down on that, so
Yeah, so
And it said we're doubling down right underneath.
hold us to this date.
Yeah.
It's coming out.
So yeah, I think that's most of the big stuff. Lots of other stuff to talk about. I mean, there's Control expansions, Joker's coming to Mortal Kombat 11. But I think that's pretty much it.
Overall, did you guys enjoy watching the show this
I
year?
think this was
Oh,
the
I
best,
did,
best show they've ever done.
Really?
Of the Game Awards.
Because
yes.
of the Xbox thing, probably, right?
Well, that plus I think like there were only a couple of moments that I was like, all right, wrap up this joke, wrap up this bit.
It dragged a couple times, but they've continued to tighten it up, and I think they could tighten it a little bit more, but like it's pretty much there.
I was
which is
going to
great.
say he had, I would say, the closest. He hasn't had a perfect, or Keighley and his team haven't had a perfect show yet, but it's getting better and it's getting there. And I think if they just tighten it a little bit more, they still. I don't know what the answer is to balancing honoring creators and showing reveals, because I feel like this year went more into the reveals, which was like
definitely
good,
did.
but like I also like those moments of seeing those people up there. So it's like I don't know what the balance is, but it's something that I think when they finally iron it out, that's going to elevate that show to a new level.
I definitely agree with that, because I thought it was very strange that such big categories like Best RPG, Best Action Adventure weren't actually televised. They just were kind of thrown in at the end, like, oh, Sekiro gets Game of the Year, and by the way, it got Action Adventure too. Like, up to that point, that game didn't get anything that night. And I thought that was kind of strange. And then the way that some of the awards were just thrown out by Keighley, like Best Performance. I mean, I understand Mads wasn't there, but especially as gaming has gone so far in so many ways, but especially in acting and performances, to not have that, I don't know, feel like more significant.
Yeah, that's kind of how they've been running it for the last couple of years. And I agree with Alex. I think, and you, I'd like to see them iron it out. I think they've made some progress. And I don't know what the solution is either, but I like the way it's going. And I look forward to next year.
Yeah, definitely.
Can't wait.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. This was the Game Awards 2019. We're looking forward to 2020. Hopefully they figure out the little minor things that we nitpicked just now. But thanks so much for joining us. If you want to learn more about all these announcements, head to GameInformer.com. Look for our next issue of Game Informer magazine. And until then, we will see you next time.
To gaming.
To gaming.